that enhanced brow look. I wanted to share a tip on how to get your eyebrows enhanced and how to do it properly. I'm not going to go so much into depth on what products you should use. Being a makeup artist, you're exposed to so many great brands, but I can give you tips and the techniques to go forward with how to make your eyebrows fabulous. So what I want to do today is I want to show you the bare nature of my brow. And as you see, you can see the beginning and you see the arch in the middle, and you can kind of see faintly the tail. And so what I normally do is I take a brow pencil. Usually I use a dark brunette brow pencil, and I just go around and sketch naturally the shape of that brow that I already have. And I do it on top, and now I'm starting that same lightly sketch at the bottom. And I go over it a couple of times to make it more defined and to create that beautiful brow in sketch, to start forming the fill-in of a fuller, more enhanced brow, but still natural. So as I have put that together, what I normally do is I'll start in the inside of the brow and kind of just lightly sketching in the areas that I want to deepen and darken. And I want to give you the tip to never use a black pencil. Always use a brown pencil. It's more natural. It looks a whole lot better than using a bold black like eyeliner. You always want to use a brown, a light brown. I know a lot of cosmetic companies even make colors like in blonde and a taupe, sometimes even an auburn if you have red hair. But you want, the purpose of it, you want to always make your brow to look more natural. The more natural it looks, the more appealing it looks, and it just looks a lot nicer that way. So I'm filling in my brow and I'm sketching on lightly, not to, PowerPoint and pin down really hard, but just a nice light sketch over it just to fill it in. I always leave, if you can just see real closely, I leave the front open. So that front is open, so as I blend that front, it will nicely have a fade in the front. So I use a pencil. I also use a tint, and a lot of brands do make brow tint in different shades as well, just like the pencil. And I'll go over that tint, over the brow with the tint, and I just lightly fill in to create a more enhanced brow. The pencil just kind of got me started on building that brow, and this is actually going to fill in and make the completion of the thickness of how I would like that brow to look. And when I'm doing makeup, I always start with my brows. I have totally no makeup on as of right now, but if I was doing my makeup look for the day, I always will start with my brows and eye area first and create that look, because whatever I do around my eyes, I can always blend it when I go deeper into my makeup with my foundation and my concealer and highlight that area. So I've made that brow. I will define it and fill that brow around with concealer next. But I'm gonna go to the other side and create the same look. I'm right-handed, so I'm kind of crossed up just here, just a little bit. But I'll start in the front. And you want to just follow the natural shape of your brow. Just the natural shape of your brow. And bottom, doing the same thing. And no brows are exactly the same. So we don't have twins. We will never have a brow twin. They're sisters. They're related. So they're not exactly alike, but they're close. They're related to each other. They're in the same family. So they are sisters, but they're not twins. So it's okay for one of them to be a little bit different than the other, but you want them to, in comparison, to kind of, when you're looking from afar, that those brows are related, if that makes sense. And I always have one brow that is a little bit better than the other one. That's just the nature of the beast. And I think that has a lot with doing with being right-handed or left-handed. It is okay. It's not the end of the world. So I'm filling in with my brow tint. And my brow tint just kind of makes it a thicker creation of putting that brow together. It's a little more of a thicker, wet formula. The little brush that's on the brow tint, it's almost like a little short spoolie. Has a little brush end or brush tip on to kind of brush that in. And I'm following the shape of that natural arch and brow shape. Leaving that front just a little open, like I did on the first go around. Just a little bit open, and as you can see, we filled it in, and it looks kind of funny or strange at this point. We still got just a little ways to go. I always take concealer, and you always want to go with a little bit lighter than your foundation complexion. So I take a little bit and I dot that concealer on the back of my hand. That way I have easy access to grab at it when I need it and not use too much than I need from my bottle. So I'll take a little bit of a little dot of it on my concealer brush, and I will go up underneath and on top. And I have defined kind of the highlighting part of the brow, just to make that more defined. And I'm doing the same with the other brow. And it does take a little bit of practice with this. It's not something that you just pop in and say, hey, I'm going to do my brows and I'm going to learn overnight. It takes a considerable amount of couple times practicing it. Getting you the right tools, I feel like, is very important when you're doing your brows. You do need a concealer brush. And those are usually noted. A particular brand of brushes, I do say you want to go with a higher quality of a brush, and you do want to use high quality brushes. I like particularly, so on the low end of the spectrum, I love the e.l.f. e.l.f. has a very good brand of brushes. You can find them sometimes at a drugstore, and those are good brushes to use. A higher end of brushes that you may want to invest in if you're wanting to do more with your makeup and play around and just have some quality brushes that probably will last you forever is Sigma. But I really just wanted to really just give you a lot of technique today and not really go into brands. And like I said, I'm honored to do this for Chattanooga College. My director of aesthetics and just a pro at everything that have really helped build my confidence and teach me a lot of knowledge was Miss Debbie Daly. She's the director of aesthetics. And then there's also Danita Lewis, who really does teach in depth with business, the business side of aesthetics. She taught a class at Chattanooga College that really just helped groom me to my position as the cosmetic manager and a makeup artist as of right now. We took a course in Danita Lewis class, which was build your resume. That was one project we had to do, build a resume from scratch. Whether we had one already, or whether we needed to improve it, or really just build one from ground zero, we had to do that. And we had to post it. We had to post it on Indeed. And Indeed is a program where employers search for people for their company. And in the process of me building my resume and putting my skills and my background and, me as a cosmetologist for years, but also studying for becoming an esthetician and getting the license for that, I was able to get recognized or at least acknowledged by a department store that needed a cosmetic manager. And I came across a recruiter, long story short, and landed a job, really nice job, from doing that project at school. So I have truly enjoyed the experience of being a part of the aesthetic program, being a soon-to-be graduate with getting my license. The pandemic, of course, stopped things in that direction. I finished all my hours. However, I hadn't completed the state board requirements for taking the test, but I was in the process of doing that right before the pandemic has put everybody on pause. However, God's delay is not his denial, and I'm excited that when we do get to go back to school, I will take the time to finish what I started. So truly excited about all of the possibilities and opportunities I came across. It was a very good investment of my time and my money, and taking the time and enhancing my skills and my talents for what I have a passion for already. So let me just show you. This is a brush that you can use for mascara, but a real fancy name that we use in makeup is called a spoolie. And so your spoolie is what you would use in the beginning of your brow, just to fade everything out and blend everything out. And it really just creates a whole natural makeup to the beginning of that brow. You want that beginning to be faded just like a natural brow would be. You never want it to be harsh like a magic marker, or too harsh where it looks just artificial, but you want it to be faded nicely and blended nicely into enhanced brow that you've just created. So keeping that front faded is very important, and that is why I have in the beginning taken the time to create that opening. And so that opening is faded in the beginning of the brow to give you a more enhanced blended look to your brow. And I take my concealer brush and I just blend everything out. And like I said, this is the beginning steps of what I do with my makeup to start my makeup look for the day. So of course, a lot of this around here will also be blended out when I go in to do my foundation and my concealer around my eyes. And so that is really pretty much of how I begin the process of creating a beautiful brow and ending the process of what I would do with the brow part of everything. And so I have finished and completed. I usually go in with a little soft sponge and I kind of blend everything out so it doesn't be so harsh. And then once I apply foundation, it's all blended out and it looks really natural. Same for over here. But this is it. This is Brows 101. I'm a perfectionist, so the last little bit that I do is just go back in and make sure that everything is brushed in and blended out with that mascara brush, which is technically called a spoolie in the makeup world. And a lot of times a spoolie is attached to your pencils that you will get when you purchase a brow brush. But you have that enhanced brow look. So that is the end. And thank you